Happy 2026. Happy Black Monday.
Black Monday?
It's Black Monday in the NFL.
Is that like deal? Oh, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about a shopping day of some sort. Yeah.
Well, it's a shopping day for...
Is it a happy Black Monday?
I don't know.
For fans,
should I have
maybe.
gone Happy Black Monday? Yeah, no, it's a tough time in the NFL for a lot of families. I mean, I'm making fun.
No, sure.
A lot of NFL coaches this morning were let go. Before we get to all that, we're gonna recap our vacations. My man was he was a state / multiple state traveler. You want to fill everyone in really quick?
Oh yeah, California.
I'll show the pictures. Yep.
I think we were in Arizona for a second, and then even Nevada maybe at one point.
Okay.
But the Bemis family went on a 7 or 8 day vacation. Started out by going down to Newport Beach, California, to see my parents, or to see my mom, and some cousins for Christmas and everything. And then on Christmas Day, we drove to Park City, Utah, or we drove halfway there, and then the next day drove the rest of the way to Park City. Where I'm fortunate that my wife's family has a little place in Park City.
Nice. Usually
great, over Christmas. This year, not so great with the snow conditions in Park City. Not a ton open. Okay. Everybody was all crowded in. So we decided at the last second, since we had some other family members who have, we're going to be in Mammoth, California, of course, which is like 70 miles as the bird flies, I think.
Right.
From where we live in Clovis, right. To get to actually Mammoth. But you have to drive around the Sierra Nevadas.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, we made a last second decision, or mid-trip decision, to travel from Park City to Mammoth.
Wow.
Okay, so if you've ever been on that drive, you go through Nevada, you go through Wendover, right on the Nevada-Utah border.
Yeah.
And then, there's like a long stretch, you don't see a ton of cars. You go through Ely, Nevada, which I've actually been to Ely before to cover a UNLV football training camp,
there
which
you
was
go.
kind of exciting.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ely.
Yeah, you go down the 6th through Tonopah, and then you have then you finally hit the California border. They're coming in from the east to Mammoth Lakes, California.
Right.
And Dean, on the last part of the drive, it's like 9:30 at night. You don't see a ton of cars on these roads.
Yes.
And I'm tired, the family's tired, the kids are doing great in the back, but they're ready to get out of the car.
They're ready.
Of course, we have like a add engine oil light that comes on, right? And now we're kind of on this road where I'm pretty confident we're not going to see another car and we're not going to see another soul for probably like 20 or 30 miles, you know?
No service stations. Yeah.
When you drive through Nevada from that direction, by the way, you see a lot of signs, Dean, that say, no gas for the next 150 miles, or no gas for the next 180 miles.
Right.
Fortunately, we were filled with gas. Long story short, we made it.
Thank God.
We made it.
Thank God.
I was, had those butterflies in my stomach as we're driving this final mountain road, with nobody else in sight, with snow, because there was a huge storm that had come through Mammoth on either side of us. Roads were in good shape, which was great. Shout out to the people who plowed that road because it was in good shape.
Good.
And it turned out to be no problem, Dean.
Thank God.
But it was one of those moments, when you're driving with your wife and maybe things are going a little weird or you're a little sketchy.
Yeah, sure.
And nobody wants to say anything.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to give off the impression you're nervous.
Right.
Well, then after we got past this crossing into Mammoth finally, we both looked at each other kind of saying, I was a little nervous.
Glad we made that.
Yeah, and she was like, I was a little nervous too, especially because I didn't tell you. My phone started flashing SOS.
Right.
Because at one point I said, well, we're only about 30 miles away from our,
destination.
Our friends and family who are already there. We can just call them. It won't be a big deal. It's not storming. That was the only thing that was keeping me, comforted.
Kind of at ease,
That it wasn't stormy at that point. But she said, but my phone went SOS. I wasn't know if we were going to have any service.
Gotcha.
And then on the very tail end of this road, Dean, it's kind of interesting. Right before we got to the 395, just a little bit south of Mammoth, there, it's funny, we saw like 5 or 6 different cars just parked along the side of the road. And I think these people are just like the classic, ski bum type of people.
Sure.
Whatever you want to say, not saying they're bums, but just they're sleeping in their cars.
They're
waking up, and going skiing the next day.
That's awesome.
And anyways, it turned out to be fun. We had a good New Year's Eve with my cousins and my brother, and had a couple days at Mammoth.
That's good. Not much here. We had a quiet Christmas at home. We're in the Christmas PJs. The nice thing was wearing the Christmas PJs all day. Just watched some basketball, had a good time. Here are the boys with their stockings, just traditional stuff. So nothing huge, but it was nice to have some time off. Did a lot of honeydews at home. Had to get on the roof and get all the leaves off the roof from the over barren trees, dropping everything. So it was very busy. It's nice to be back here with you in the studio and start talking some sports. So with that being said, let's come in hot here in 2026. right, Scotty, we got an interesting topic here in Coming In Hot to start the new year. This was a game that happened in Berkeley, a basketball game between Notre Dame and Cal, an ACC matchup. I watched the highlights of it. I read the story, but I finally saw the video. So basically, Notre Dame was up 3 late and was trying to get the foul like you try to do. You try to foul a guy without him shooting the three-pointer. The guy tried to foul him, I think, 3 times with no whistle. And then finally he lets him go, and then the referee calls a delayed whistle. The guy shoots the ball, hits the shot, gets credit for the foul and the N1, and Cal ends up winning 72-71. Notre Dame's coach, Micah Shrewsbury, went absolutely berserk at the end of this game, ended up chasing the officials up the ramp, got stopped by his team. So I'll let you kind of go from there and take it.
Yeah, coming in hot on our show, maybe if you're tuning in for the first time, it's a hot topic, a hot take, something like that. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to reinforce something that I've talked about earlier on this show, and I think this was a great example of it. I know we're going to get to all the college football and everything else. It's kind of a random topic to be talking college basketball, but as we get a few further months down the road, when we get to conference tournaments, March Madness, when everybody starts zeroing in, this will become, I think, something that people pay attention to. And to me, basketball in general, not just college basketball, but the NBA, we need to address somehow fouling in the final 5-10 seconds of a game when you're up 3. And I think this exposed a few of the problems with not having any rule about it. My idea that I've expressed before is if you foul outside of the 3-point line with, say, you pick a time, maybe under 10 seconds to go, if you're up 3, if you're up 3, only if you're up 3, that a team would get 1 free throw and the basketball at that point, right?
Oh, wow.
If you foul outside of the 3-point line.
I understand.
Outside of the 3-point line in the front court, basically, right? Okay. Well, maybe even in the back court, actually. Now that
it could be in the back or the early front court, yeah.
Well, there's the first reason that I brought it up on this show as a possible rule change, you know me, I love thinking about possible ways to change the game. It's ruining the end of basketball games. I saw several college basketball games over the 2-week break or week and a half break where this came into play, and even in the NBA on a couple games that I was watching, where it kind of sucks all the drama out of it, because instead of rooting for a game-tying shot in the final seconds, you're just waiting for the foul, and then they send the guys to the line, and then it bogs the game down.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. And so I would be in favor, obviously, of keeping the drama intact of, when you're down 3, it's one of the great things about basketball. Buzzer beating shot, 3-pointer to tie at the buzzer kind of thing. You don't want to be watching thinking, are they going to foul? But the other reason that this is a problem, Dean, in my opinion, is that it puts too much onus on the officials. Because at any other moment in the game, like taking the Notre Dame Cal situation, the coach, Shrewsbury, who's the coach of Notre Dame, would have been upset probably about a ticky-tack foul on the perimeter, right? He would have not encouraged the referee to do that. But now he's going irate because the guy is trying to foul. He doesn't make too hard of a foul.
But 2 or 3 times too, Scott, he made contact with the guy. I saw the play.
Right, but in the end of game scenarios, what do we always get upset about? About not letting the players decide it on the field? My point is not that it probably should have been called in that situation. I think Shrewsbury has a total point in what he's going in his argument that hey, we were trying to foul. He may have even told the officials before, we're going to foul. If he didn't, that's on him then. He should tell them that, hey, we're going to look to foul here so that they're ready for it. But it puts too much onus on the officials, because now in college basketball too, they've kind of changed the continuation thing. It's more like the NBA now. They're allowing continuation on shots. And so even as a guy is gathering to go up where it used to be a foul on the floor, now they're giving the continuation. So the Cal guy, they don't call the first 2, they call the third reach in, right? And he's sort of gathering at that point, and I don't blame them under the new rules for counting the basket.
Right.
But to me, because you don't have something in place and it gets kind of weird, they're trying to foul, it's the end of game, officials don't want to call too many fouls at the end of a game, you're putting too much pressure on the officials to make decisions at this point, and about whether he was in the shooting motion and everything else. So come up with a way, basketball, to make the end of games when a team is down 3 more exciting. Let's come up with something. Now, second point on that, Shrewsbury should have been suspended.
Yes.
For the way that he reacted.
Yes.
And the ACC came out and said,
reprimand.
Mm-hmm. We publicly reprimand.
Yes, we do. Publicly reprimand.
Shrewsbury apologized, and he calmed down pretty quickly. So he from all times I've watched him, his son's on the team, all this stuff. He seems like
his son actually missed the winning shot on the other end.
Could have saved all this drama, right? But you've got to send a message that this is not okay to be sprinting after officials looking like you're gonna, get up in their face and who knows what, bump them, whatever, because he was held back by like 4 or 5 guys.
That's why I mean, if they don't hold him back, then who knows what happens. So maybe a problem was averted. I agree with you. Would you want to do the same thing in the NBA? Same principle on your rule change?
I would.
Same thing.
Yeah, I would. I think if you give an intentional foul, like outside of the 3-point, it doesn't even have to be an intentional. I would just say any foul outside the 3-point line with a team down 3 with under 5 seconds to go, unless it's like a loose ball and 2 guys are diving on the floor, kind of thing, right? Where one guy has possession and is working his way towards the basket or towards the front court.
Yes.
Just because I think one free throw on the ball will allow more drama at the end of games, and it's not like you're going to let the other team win in that scenario. They're still going to have to hit a game-tying shot at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Or make their free throw too.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I said, I hate the foul game, how it's being done. I want to see those shots at least go up in the air. But this was a very interesting situation because the guy tried twice to foul him, crossing half court, and no call was made. And then as soon as the guy finally slides to the 3-point line, he kind of let him go. And then they called a foul. It was a crazy play. But yeah, anyway, it was Shrewsbury was reprimanded by the ACC. Yeah, he apologized.
And my point with
Cal got the win.
My point with that, Dean, is that we get on players all the time, for tees, this and that, the Draymond Greens of the world for not behaving properly and everything. But a coach needs to set the example, especially a college coach. And you need to set the example as a conference and say, this is not okay. I don't care how upset you are.
Sure.
It's not okay to do this. That there should be a game or 2 suspension there.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, well, let's get to college football a little bit. Before we get to the 4 quarterfinal games, let's just talk a little bit. We haven't been back since Fresno State won the Snoop Dogg Bowl, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. E.J. Warner MVP. It was the only thing that yours truly called correctly on the last show. But it was a nice win, nice way for Matt Enns to finish season 1. I just want to get your take as the sports director of the station. What are your thoughts on Matt Enns in the end of year 1?
Did settle in. We were in Park City at that time still, and got off the slopes in time to watch the Snoop Dogg Bowl. First off, it was an entertaining watch despite it being kind of an awkward defensive game with not a ton of offense.
Right.
Because of Snoop. Let's be honest. Great. Snoop was great on the broadcast.
Diving in the end zone. I mean, what other host is diving in the end zone? Magic Johnson, who was the Tournament of Roses chair, he wasn't diving for balls at the Indiana-Alabama game, but Snoop was.
And then he gets in the booth and that
he's on the
quarter
podium,
where he was
he's handing out raising canes.
Snoop was great. I think Snoop really made it like kind of a memorable bowl game in a way. I mean, great win for Fresno State.
Yes.
I mean, I would. Great might even be too big of a hyperbole there because you beat, Miami of Ohio,
right? It was a good win.
But it's a good win to finish off your season. In a bowl game, it gives you momentum heading to the offseason. And I think the biggest win for Fresno State, at least so far, has been the just very little activity of outgoing players into the transfer portal.
Anything ingoing you wanted to mention? Anything that we know at this point? A lot of people are asking about a quarterback in particular. Do we know anything there?
I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
But there is thought. I would be really surprised if they're not in the market for a quarterback of some point. That doesn't mean the guys on the current roster, they don't want to keep them around. It just means I think they want to add somebody. They want to add an E.J. Warner type, maybe. Yeah. I mean, like maybe somebody like that, like who kind of fits that resume. Not saying like an actual E.J. Warner,
right.
That build or makeup or everything. But yes, I think and I think going into the Pac-12, I think you have a little bit of a selling point, for a maybe a backup at a Power 5 school who came out of high school with some incredible credentials and hasn't had an opportunity yet there. And you say, hey, we're going into the Pac-12. We're going to be playing, Boise, San Diego State, Washington State, Oregon State, and we're going to have, some non-conference opportunities as well because they're only going to be playing 7 conference games to begin with. So, so who knows? They may get. So yeah, I think my guess is they are probably in there. I think it may be a little bit early in the process to figure it out because I'm sure all the the top flight guys as we've been reading are getting snatched up by other Power 5 programs and this and that. But
yeah, you're hearing a lot about that right now. Big checks.
But a really good sign for a program that's obviously building itself on defense, running the football, that that you're going to have a roster that's going to be pretty much intact.
Yeah.
Obviously you got outgoing seniors and everything, but you don't. And Josiah Freeman coming back. I mean, that's another selling point for a quarterback. You say, hey, we've got a 6'3", stud who's got an NFL build and probably was going to get an opportunity at the next level coming back, for
deal.
another year. Hey, how'd you like to throw the ball to him?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
In addition to Abbott, I saw who was kind of their second receiver this year. I mean, I could see them an offensive line, hopefully, with another year in this system. If they continue to run the ball that will set up the passing game even more so going forward.
Sure.
And so 9-4 season under Matt Entz. I think the bigger thing is just the culture he's established, that you can go into a bowl game and just kind of physically dominate a team like they did.
Agreed. I was super happy with everything. I was happy for EJ that he was the most valuable player of the game, kind of going out in his career. It was kind of sad that his dad couldn't be there. His dad was broadcasting the Chargers game at the same time. But I was happy for EJ for that kind of ending.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
That's a cool moment for him.
All right, let's get into these quarterfinal games. We'll start with the one that our friend Kevin Maham was super excited about. Ohio State was a 9.5-point favorite in the Cotton Bowl against Miami, and Miami comes out with the victory. Man, Scotty, Miami, I think, has got as good a shot as anyone at this point to win this thing, really. Mario's got the boys rolling. So what are your thoughts on the Cotton Bowl?
Well, what do they always say? Defense, right? And running the football and physicality travels. And, Miami has all that at this point. Maybe not like during the regular season running the ball consistently, but in the playoffs, they've found a little bit of a running game here. Because Carson Beck's had some nice moments. He hasn't played bad by any means. He didn't play that great in the A&M game, but they didn't need him to.
Right.
Had some moments, I think, right in the Ohio State game,
they needed
especially
him not
early.
to turn the ball over, which he didn't.
Yeah, and they made the critical plays when they needed to, right, to pick up first downs and things like that late in the game. Miami, I think they deserve to be a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, you see when you get into playoff football like this and things get more difficult and you're going up with similar type athletes, well, Miami has that recruiting of Mario Cristobal and those athletes that he has, especially on the defensive line, are creating havoc.
Absolutely.
And so it'll be an interesting matchup here with Ole Miss.
I agree.
And Chambliss, who's a kind of a scrambling quarterback.
Right.
Can Miami get him to the turf?
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like you said, this team is built from the lines out. And I really love how he's built this team up. That defensive line, I think they got 2 or 3 guys that are all going to be first and second round draft picks projected already. So very excited about that game coming up. So let's go to we'll go to the nightcap, because that's who they're going to be playing is Ole Miss. So the Ole Miss story is, they're building the Hollywood movie right now. Coach leaves to go to a rival school. In comes the defensive coordinator, becomes the head coach, and the defensive coordinator gives the "Why not us" speech, and all of a sudden you win a game at home against Tulane, and then you go to the Sugar Bowl, and right in LSU's backyard, you beat Georgia. Who is a touchdown favorite. Chambliss playing great. I was really impressed with the skill guys from Ole Miss. They've got that great running back Lacey. I was super impressed. And now they're going to play Miami in the semifinal in the Fiesta Bowl. So what are your thoughts on the Ole Miss Rebels?
The Ole Miss Rebels. This is a game that I sort of half watched while I was sitting in a hotel bar just off the slopes of Mammoth at that point. So at one of their new hotels that they opened. So it was a nice setting, and we were, again, I was sort of paying attention, but I didn't see every play of this game. But I know that, Georgia had a lead, and then it kind of seesawed back the other way, and then Georgia kind of came back at the end. It's a cool story. Not only with everything that's gone on with Ole Miss, and they're kind of with Miami a little bit too, but you kind of start to sense a little bit of something special's happening here, right? And everybody's starting to kind of buy into that, including the fan base and everything else. Great performance by the fan base too, from what I heard.
Amazing.
Right? At the Sugar Bowl.
Amazing.
Didn't they had more fans there, I think,
they
than
totally
Georgia?
did. Yeah, and actually Kirby Smart actually made a comment about that. But what Pete Golding's doing, down there is pretty amazing. Honestly, for a young coach. All right, let's go to the other side of the coin. So we're going to start with the game that opened up New Year's Day morning. It was Oregon, Texas Tech. I was really disappointed in Texas Tech, Scotty. They could not get anything going after Oregon gave up all those points to James Madison. Completely, they get a shutout against a Texas Tech team that has been killing people this year. So your thoughts on that game? That was the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I know that we collectively didn't do very well on our picks with regards to the college football playoff. But I will say that I feel like I was at least sort of correct in something that I mentioned on this show, that maybe Texas Tech, their offense, especially, that was my concern with them coming in, was that I was not very impressed with Texas Tech offense in the Big 12 championship game against BYU.
That's right.
And late in the year, they were really winning with their defense, at that point, which still played well, obviously in this bowl game against Oregon. But eventually, you're going to have to score some points,
right?
And unfortunately, it was kind of like, okay, I think we're seeing that the Big 12 champion, right? Even if it is a Texas Tech team with a dominating defense, there is a little difference there between going up against, maybe a SEC or a Big Ten team.
School. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, but I was really surprised that Oregon got the shutout. Their defense played that well. Now I know that Danny Lanning ripped into them for giving up all those points to JMU in the second half. So apparently, message received.
I will say my little brother has been on Oregon. He told me when I saw him, he basically said like, hey, get on Oregon. So he is seeing something in Oregon, physicality that, again, I haven't seen a ton of Oregon this year. And so, it's kind of like a forgotten team that after they lost, early like that. And that's that Indiana game, right?
Right.
And they're just kind of been sitting there. And I heard a lot of people before the playoff, like handicappers, this and that, wise guys saying that they thought Oregon had the most value on the board. Maybe not that they were the favorite, but like at their odds that they were the team that was probably the best bet to win it all.
Yeah, and then obviously the team that everyone's talking about now, the Indiana Hoosiers, 2 games away from a national championship, a very dominant performance against Alabama. I was just really surprised again on that game. I do not know what happened to Kalen's boys, but credit to Indiana. I mean, they played well on both sides of the ball. Alabama had them on a little bit on the ropes to start the game, and then after that, it was all Indiana.
If Ohio State had beaten Miami, I would have kind of come in with a take of, hey, the Big Ten, right? Like Illinois, didn't they beat, I think, Tennessee in their bowl game? I believe they did.
And they did.
You got Indiana, dominating Alabama here. You got Oregon, obviously, doing what they did. Some other schools, maybe, the USCs of the world, right? Like, did not come through.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one. That's another one that I lost on. So that was so disappointing.
But yeah, I mean, Indiana kind of falls into, I think, the Indiana thing is just, we are refusing to believe it. We're refusing to believe it, and the truth is, it's there.
It's
right?
there.
Like it's there, and unfortunately, we're all thinking about old Indiana when we're thinking about this, and we're thinking about old Alabama, right? So we look at it. I mean, I was guilty as anybody. I said,
charged.
oh my gosh, Indiana. I think on the show I said they're getting 7. I mean, Alabama's getting 7 against Indiana. Give me the Crimson Tide,
Same.
right? It's like an auto bet,
right?
But no, I mean, Indiana might win it all.
We
got to come to grips with it. That they've got a great quarterback.
Yeah.
They've got a physical defense. They've got some skill position guys, and they don't make any mistakes.
They don't.
And that's a recipe for winning.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, honestly, their wideouts are super talented. 2 good running backs that can run the ball, and of course, the Heisman Trophy winner. So, really quick, let's just go to NFL really briefly. We don't have a whole lot of time, but that game last night, Sunday Night Football, the Ravens missing the field goal at the end. The Steelers get the last spot, and then Saturday night, the Niners, had a chance at home to get the number 1 seed and fell short against the Seahawks. Just really quick on the NFL. We'll have more to cover on that on Thursday, but just really quick on the NFL before we get to our bets of the week.
Yeah, that was a really cool game last night.
Yeah.
Got a chance to watch pretty much that whole thing, and which is rare for me on a Sunday night. Usually doing Bulldog Insider.
Enjoy that.
I was at home and got to kind of sit on the couch and watch it, which was good. But what's funny is the initial thought. Do you feel better for the winner when a kicker misses a game-ending field goal like that? Dean, do you feel better for the winner, or does your heart start to bleed for the kicker?
Oh, my heart bleeds for the kicker.
So does mine. We're soft.
My heart bleeds for the kicker in that situation. You're on the road, and the opposing kicker just missed the PAT that would have at least given you a 3-point lead, would have forced overtime. He misses the PAT, and then your team goes down. I just thought the Ravens' clock management on that last drive was so poor. They had 3 timeouts, didn't utilize them properly, kind of ran the clock down, was hoping for the field goal, and then it was just crazy how that thing hooked. It looked like one of my drives off a tee box. So
I didn't have a huge issue with it in the college game. I would have definitely had an issue with it if they just kneeled it right, like set up the kick, centered the football like that with 1 timeout left.
But they had 56 seconds at midfield. The guy returns the ball to midfield with 3 timeouts, and they just They couldn't get anything going. They should have gotten a lot closer than where they ended up. I mean, that's just my opinion.
My argument would be they did what they needed to do. In the NFL, I mean, you're looking at probably 80 to 90% conversion rate on a kick like that. You know, when you add in late game pressure, obviously you never know what's going to happen. In the college game, Dean, I would have definitely said I didn't have as big an issue with the way the drive played out. Just kind of, you got to move the ball at some point, and like in order to kind of move your,
credit to the Steelers
defense.
The
Steelers defense came up with a couple plays there.
Credit to the Steelers.
And the Ravens came up with a huge play. I mean, that play from, was it Likely, I think?
That catch was crazy.
That's going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
But that is just, to catch that ball on fourth down in traffic like that.
That's crazy.
That's an incredible play, but it'll be forgotten because of the final kick. And my first thought always is I turned to my wife and said, don't let your kids grow up to be field goal kickers.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a parent of a field goal kicker. In that pressure.
Yeah, you just make that call and say, I'm sorry, son. But all right, let's get to our money plays. All right, well, without going over December, because we've already beaten a dead horse, but congratulations to my man Scott Bemis. He won the month because I completely flamed out. Other than the Fresno State thing, I had nothing good to really go over. So we're going to go straight into January. New year, new me, new you. Our contest, $1,000 in hypothetical money. Whoever has the most money at the end of the month wins the month, and we just kind of keep track. So, all right, here's Mr. Bemis for January.
All right, I'm gonna fire on a college basketball, a 5-point teaser tonight. I've become teaser happy. It's my new flavor of the month. Right?
It won you December.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I've been having some success. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take USC tonight at Michigan State. This is again college basketball here. So both these bets have to win, but I'm moving the line 5 points on each one. So USC's getting 10.5 at Michigan State. USC's coming off like kind of an embarrassing loss at Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan State also coming off a loss, and this is a tough one for the Bemis household, by the way, because my wife is a big Michigan State fan.
Yes, she is.
I married into a
fan.
Michigan State family, and I went to USC, so we're going to be at odds tonight on this one. But I think USC has the athletes against a Michigan State to keep this under 15.5.
Okay.
So I bumped it up to 15.5. And then I'm going to take Houston tomorrow. I know you might be opposite me on this one.
I am.
And I'm a fan of Texas Tech, but going into Houston and winning is a really hard thing to do. So I'm going to move that line down from 6.5 to 1.5. Basically, in my opinion, Houston wins the game. We win that bet there. Okay. And then I'm gonna throw out an NFL early play for you for Wild Card Weekend. 2 teams, 7-point teaser. Same applies, except we're moving the line 7 points in this case. Packers are getting 1.5 at the Bears. My theory here is kind of going against teams that haven't really been there before.
Okay.
So the Bears and the Patriots haven't really been there before.
Okay.
And I'm getting a couple of good quarterbacks on the other side, and I'm getting more than touchdown with Jordan Love. I'm getting more than touchdown with Justin Herbert, so that's what I'm going to do.
All right, so here's what I got. I got 7 plays. A really basic NBA play. Celtics, Rockets, Thunder, all big favorites tonight, $50. Give me the Huskers going into Ohio State, getting 4.5. I bought that kind of up. And then on the Michigan State, I bought it down to 8.5. So again, it's plus 165.
Middle that one there.
Yeah, I middled it. 20 to win, 33. We got the NCAA FCS championship tonight. Give me Montana State under a touchdown. I bought it down, minus 180. So 50 to win, 27. I got a little NHL parlay in there. Duke tomorrow night, going to Louisville. I just really like this Duke team. I like what John Shire's doing. The Texas Tech thing, I'll take Texas Tech plus 6.5 at Houston. Houston did not look good against Cincinnati. I barely covered something there on a separate issue, but I covered it, which was great. And then TCU, Kansas, over 137.5. So anyway, Scotty, we are back. We will be back on Thursday. We'll have more plays. We'll talk NFL. Thanks again for joining us. This has been the Beem and Dean Show.